Hi guys, welcome back to another fragrance video on my channel and thanks so much for tuning in again. In today's video I'm going to talk about my personal top 10 oud fragrances of the year 2022, and this is kind of a clean list, so if you are worried that this might be an animalic and oriental, super oriental kind of list with Arish Lidore and Ensa Oud and all that stuff, don't worry, it's all going to be quite clean fragrances. So I chose some animalics but not like too heavy stuff, and I hope that you will enjoy this list. And the first fragrance that I want to start out with is the fragrance Roga Parfums Sultanate of Oman. This is a fragrance that I recently got, and it's a beautiful semi-sweet, semi-fruity and also spicy fragrance. So this opens up with a beautiful citrus and with some cardamom, and then it develops into this beautiful dry down of oudiness. It has some smoky notes that I really enjoy, and I have to say that in general, Roga Parfums fragrances with oud are a very good recommendation if you are trying to get into the field of oud without going too crazy on animalics, because they always have this kind of super oriental twist but without the stinkiness factor that many oriental brands have. So I think they are really well made, and if you want, you can also check out like Amber Oud, Musk Oud and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. All those fragrances are really nice, and I got myself this beautiful bottle of Sultanate of Oman like 2 weeks ago, so this is a really nice fragrance. Next up on this list is the popular Ombre Nomade by Louis Vuitton. This is probably the most popular oud fragrance that I personally know. My community, so my German community, for example, loves this. You might love this as well because it's a beautiful raspberry, incense and oud fragrance. So it has some kind of parallels to Tuscan leather in my opinion, but only because the top note is so raspberry dominant. And then it develops into this beautiful concoction of incense and oud, and it's a beautiful smoky oud fragrance that you can also wear to the office, for example, because people generally like this a lot. So you can wear this to the office, you can wear this in your free time, and it's a really, really awesome fragrance. I do not regret buying this because it's just a very nice fragrance. And by the way, you can always refill the bottles in the Louis Vuitton boutiques, paying only half the price of them. So if you really use this, you will be able to get this at a very cheap price if you refill the bottles. The next up I have this fragrance called Najaf, or Zanzibar as it's called today, because this is an old bottle by Xerjoff. And this one is a really strong oud fragrance. So it's basically very, very heavy on the ouds. It also has some kind of banana note that I feel is in there. So it's really interesting. Might be the sandalwood that's in there or combined with some other notes. And this one is a really good example of an oud heavy fragrance. So you might also get a fragrance called Ilm by Chemi, which is no longer produced. Chemi is a kind of Oriental and Italian brand that has been integrated to Xerjoff. So they bought the brand and now they are rebranding the fragrances as Xerjoff fragrances, or at least some of them. But you will be able to get a good deal on old Chemi bottles. And Chemi Ilm is a fragrance that works with natural oud, and it smells really very much like oud. So it's really balsamic and really dark woodsy and just very oudy. So I like this one a lot as well. But you could choose Najaf as well, because this one, well, it's doing the same thing. It's a lot darker than Ilm. However, if you want to get this one, it's like really oriental, so you should be aware of that. So you should be probably using ouds or having smelled some ouds, and I wouldn't go for it if you are new to ouds. That's what I'm going to say. However, this one stands for a whole lot of fragrances in the Xerjoff lineup that are just awesome. I really love the Oud Stars line by Xerjoff. So if you want, you can also get like Al-Kat, which is a super, super stinky fragrance that works with jasmine and oud. So it really has some endolic quality. So this really like dirty note of jasmine combined with the dirty note of oud. So it's going to be really, really daring, a really daring fragrance. However, it is one of the most creative ones that I personally know that work with oud, so I would totally recommend Cut to you. Then of course another really good fragrance is Alexandria 2, which I'm going to recommend to you as well, because it is probably the most popular Oud Stars fragrance Xerjoff has, and the one that has gained the most compliments ever. So it's really awesome. You can also try different variants of this. So there's Alexandria 3, which has been released, I believe, in 2017. And Alexandria 3 is more heavy on the rose. So since Alexandria 2 is kind of a rose oud fragrance with some praline or some chocolatey notes, this one, Alexandria 3, is more heavy on the rose. You could also get Alexandria Orientale, which is more heavy on the ouds. So also a really nice fragrance that has been released to the public this year, actually, because it was an Oriental exclusive, and now it's been released on their online shop as a online exclusive. However, you could also get a fragrance called Amoral or Amoral by Pernod, which is a Swiss brand. And this one has even more oudiness in the base. So it's kind of like Alexandria 2 with more oud and more of this heavy oil, like balsamic quality of oud. The next fragrance I want to talk to you about is a discontinued fragrance by the house of Christian Dior. And this one is Leather Oud. Now we are getting really into the animalic stuff, because this one is really heavy on the animalics, especially civet. So it has some kind of quality of Yves Saint Laurent Kouros, if you know that. So really like old school vintage animalic kind of stuff. However, I really like this because it really smells like leather and oud, and it's a really nice dirty leathery fragrance. So if you like dark leathery fragrances, this one is totally one for you. And it smells like incensey in my opinion, so like slightly smoky, and a really awesome fragrance. Now next up, I have some fragrances on this list that are not, that I don't really own. So for example, there is the fragrance Oud Noir Intense by Fragrance du Bois. This is probably the best Oud Wood alternative if you are looking for a slightly older, slightly more mature fragrance that is comparable to Tom Ford Oud Wood. If you have the money for it. So it's a quite expensive one. It's like really high priced in my opinion, and I'm not really sure how much natural oud is in this fragrance, because it's, well, they have their own oud trees that they grow, and I don't really know if this is like real stuff, because I read recently that oud trees tend to need a lot of time to produce enough oils. So you would probably have to wait a couple of decades to be able to harvest them and get enough resin out of them. So I'm not really sure how much real oud they actually use, because also for the price, you know, it is kind of pricey, but it's not as pricey as, for example, a really heavy natural oud fragrance. However, I really like to recommend this one because it's a more mature alternative to Tom Ford's Oud Wood. So if you're looking for a more oud heavy version of this, then totally you can get my recommendation. Another fragrance I like to recommend is Tamine Carved Oud. It's in the same price range as Tom Ford Oud Wood, but lasts longer since it's an extrait de parfum. So I would totally recommend this one as well. So if you really like to get into Tom Ford Oud Wood and get a more stronger version, then you can totally get this one as well. A very cheap rose oud fragrance that I like to recommend is the fragrance Oud Palau by Diptyque. It's really cheap, so you can get this for $100. The 75 ml, so I think it's really a nice deal for the price. It's kind of animalic though, so if you don't like animalic fragrances, please keep clear of this, because it's like really heavy, really oriental, but a really good deal for a low price. If you're looking for a not animalic rose oud fragrance, then you should probably get the fragrance Portrait of a Lady by Frédéric Malle, which is a super nice non-animalic version of a rose oud fragrance. It has been around for ages, so it's really awesome and has been around for a long time, and I would totally recommend this one to you as well. Another fragrance by the house of Frédéric Malle is the fragrance Promise. This is also, I think, technically a rose oud fragrance. However, it has a really strong apple note, so really nice fruitiness in the beginning. It's really intense and strong. and I think it's super creative, and especially compared to the Night by Frederic Malle and Dawn by Frederic Malle, which are fragrances that are really way more pricey than this one. I think it's a total steal because this one goes for 200 euros, a 50 ml bottle. It's pink pepper, rose, apple, and oud, and it has some castoreum as well, so really nice leathery notes in the base, so I can totally recommend this one to you as well. And the last fragrance that I want to talk to you about is the fragrance Ceylon by Xerjoff. This is a nice honey oud fragrance, so it has honey, it has black tea, and it has oud, and it's really nice and dry. So I really love this one, really intense, natural honey note that I really like, awesome performance. It is their most pricey one, however, of the Oud Stars lineup, so you should definitely have some money to spare, but I think it's an awesome fragrance and it's a worthy top 10 fragrance for me. So this is my top 10 list of oud fragrances of 2022. Please guys, let me know what you think of these fragrances, and if you have some other oud recommendations, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm super excited to read about all of your fragrance recommendations. So thanks for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching and bye bye.